Hey, everybody, this is Greg Zahn.
This is Anthony Telford.
You're listening to The Walk-Off with Scott Belford and Adam Mack.
All right, very excited to have back on the show member of the Canadian National Women's Baseball Team and a member of the NCAA Boise State Broncos softball team, Kelsey Lalor, or Lalor, I should say. Welcome back to the Walk-Off.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, well, besides butchering that intro, we are very excited to have you back on the show here. I know you were literally the very first interview I did, and I was super nervous. And now I feel like, because they always say there's no stupid questions, but we both know there's stupid questions. So I feel settled. And I know last time we checked in with you, beginning of August, you had just gotten to Boise, just started to settle in there. Still a ton of uncertainty around college sports. So why don't you just kind of give us an update here on how your fall's been and if you're kind of finding a routine through this pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been super lucky here at Boise State. Our athletics department has done a really good job of finding ways to keep us safe and helping us navigate through this entire pandemic. So we've actually been practicing the entire fall semester, which is really nice. When we came back, everybody got tested, had to go through some physicals, just to make sure we were all good. And then we got back in the weight room, and then we were able to get back on the field. So we've actually just wrapped up fall practice, and everybody heads home for Thanksgiving and then the rest of the semester since everything's going online. So that's what a lot of schools are doing. So we have a long break here, but yeah, we were really lucky. We didn't get to play any fall games like we usually do. We usually get to play about 8 games.
And those would be exhibition or?
Yeah, they're all just exhibitions. So we usually play a couple junior colleges from around here, and then we usually play a couple Division I schools. So like last year we played Oregon and Utah, and then we played Salt Lake Community College and College Southern Idaho, and then Idaho State as well. So just a good mix of teams just to get some games in the fall. But obviously we didn't have that this year, so our team did a little bit of a fall series. So that was really fun to get to compete and still kind of have that game atmosphere.
Yeah, that's great. When does the season start? February?
Yeah, middle of February.
What is it like to play softball in Boise in the middle of February?
Well, we don't play here in the middle of February.
Okay, yeah, I figured. Yeah,
it's not warm. We're actually pretty lucky. So we were outside for almost all of the fall. I think we moved inside for last week. Was when we completely moved inside, but we still don't have any snow on the ground. So it snowed, I think, twice, but it hasn't stayed. So we've been really lucky in that sense that we've been able to be outside the whole time, but we'll see what it's like after Christmas. Usually the first time we're outside is when we go to one of the warmer places to play that first tournament, or sometimes we can try to sneak outside just before that. And at least there's a turf football field right by our stadium. So we'll at least get to go on that and take some reps off the bat and things like that. So yeah, but it's not that nice here in February.
Well, I'm curious then. I mean, most Canadians, once you get past potatoes, our knowledge of Idaho is pretty shallow. How does it compare to Alberta?
I mean, I absolutely love it here. I think it's pretty similar. Like, it's warmer for sure, and we get a lot less snow. So the climate is a big change. But other than that, like, a lot of it's fairly similar. So I've really, really enjoyed my time here. I absolutely love the city, and it's just like a great atmosphere.
You do enjoy Boise, eh?
Yeah, it's great. It's really cool to be like in a city, or like we're in a state, I guess, where there's no professional sports. So especially being in a city where there's like so much emphasis on Boise State athletics, it's really cool.
So it is a college town, kind of like that is something that a lot of the people are into there, is just the athletic side of Boise State.
Yeah, exactly. Like our football is absolutely huge. There's so much with it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. I know it's funny because I was trying to come up with questions here for you that weren't specific to the pandemic. And then we kind of put it out there to our listeners as to what they'd like to know. And a lot of it was what it's like going through a pandemic through this. Can you kind of give us like an example of a regular day going through all this?
Yeah, for sure. So in the fall when we got to practice, so we lift and condition in the morning. So either one of those starting at about 6:30 and it goes for about an hour. So wake up, head there. We have to get there a little bit early because we did temperature checks before, and we have to fill out like a symptom screen, basically to say that like we don't have any symptoms and that we haven't been around anybody, so that we couldn't be deemed a close contact. And if you're good to go, then you're allowed to head in. So we'll do conditioning for about conditioning or weights for about an hour in the morning, and then I come home after that. And this semester I was doing an internship, so I'm pretty lucky I get to do it with our equipment manager, like our equipment guy for 5 of our teams at Boise State. So I would go and do that in the morning.
So what does the internship involve then?
So so a big part of it is like any of the team gear that anybody gets. So like this jacket that I'm wearing, when that comes in, so we get all the shipments, we do a whole bunch of inventory. So yeah, we put it into our system. We'll help coaches kick out gear when it comes in to get out to their players. If coaches need anything, they come to us. So basically all the orders come through us, and then we do a lot of like the team laundry. So practice gear, all that kind of stuff gets done with us. And then additionally, like we help prep for the football games. So all of the visiting team stuff is done in the varsity center, which is where the guy that I work with, where his equipment office is, and all our equipment rooms. So all of the things that include the visiting team for football games, like we do all of that. So that's been kind of limited just because of how many people we can have with COVID. But he's there all day when we have football games. So that's kind of cool to get to be involved on that aspect of it too. So yeah, it's been really interesting to get to see like a different side of college athletics, which has been really good for me.
Yeah, that's very cool. I can imagine. Now, if you don't mind me asking about the football side of things, like that's going on right now, correct?
Yeah, it is.
Are there fans in the stands?
They started at the end of October. Yeah, it's end of October. And for the first home game, we didn't have any fans, but now they are. So students can like sign up, and their name basically goes into like a lottery. And if you're a full-time student, your name can go into the lottery, and you and one other, you get to bring one person with you, and you can go in, and they get like a rapid test done as they're going into the football game. So it's been like really, really limited with fans. We're like different. Some of the other schools, like I know in the SEC, they have a lot more fans than we do, but we're still just trying to be really cautious of it because obviously numbers are going up like they are pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, at least there has been some fans, and it's quite interesting because they have they like run sounds like through the system. So like when you go out and you hear the football team practicing, like they just have the crowd noises going the whole time, and they have them during the game just to make it more of like that game atmosphere.
So like almost the pro sports. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you're kind of an anomaly because there's not a lot of people in Canada that get to experience what you're experiencing, which is going to the US to play competitive sports. And I'm curious how the scouting of it all happened. Was it just like coaches you had here in Canada that were kind of putting in a good word for you? Or was it more you're applying? Was it more on your shoulders? Or how did that play out?
No, I definitely had some help. I got pretty lucky. Jason Chatwood, he has the baseball softball academy at St. Joseph High School in Red Deer. So I'm related to Jason. So that's that was really nice. Had that in there. He actually knew the baseball coach down here at Boise State really well. So that was kind of like where my connection came in to get here. So I got pretty lucky in that sense because I was late and I was transferring and not really having played any softball at all. So, we just put some video together and sent it here. And yeah, it was basically a lot of just people on my side and putting in a really good word for me. And I'm really lucky that the coaches at Boise State took a chance on me. I'm hoping they think they paid off. But yeah, it's been being down here to play college sports has been the best experience of my life for sure.
Are you finding that you're getting your footing under you? I know last time we talked, you were saying that like the transition from baseball to softball was actually trickier than you had even imagined. Yeah. Are you feeling more comfortable and more in a routine with it? Or is it still every day you're learning and like figuring it out?
Oh yeah, for sure. Now we're like right in the groove. I kind of knew that coming back in for my second year, things were going to be just like a lot more relaxed and a lot more natural. I wasn't going to have to be thinking about so much or worried about so many things. So that's been really nice. And I think it's like allowed me to just improve on my game versus like trying to learn a lot. Obviously there's still so many things that I learn, like when we do live at bats and stuff, like that's like a learning experience all the time, but it is in baseball too. So yeah, I'm really lucky that I had coaches that really just helped me stick to the process and really just believed in what we were doing and believed in me as an athlete. So that was a huge thing for me when I transferred to Boise.
Are there other members of your team that are also making that transition from baseball to softball?
No, just me.
Just you. Okay. The outlier.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the girls here, I'm the only Canadian on our team too right now, but we actually just signed or one of the girls from Jason's Academy from at home, Paige Simpson. She just verbally committed here a couple weeks ago, so that's really cool that now that they have that connection, so that more players can get down here if they have the skill and they want to play. So that's really cool. But yeah, all of my other teammates are from the U.S. We have a lot of California kids, one from Arizona, a couple from Oregon, and then yeah, just a little bit more all over the place. So that's like where they get all their scouting done. Their travel ball system is huge down here. They are playing all the time in the summer, and they go to all these big tournaments, and there's coaches out scouting everywhere. So recruiting is actually like a really, really big process down here, especially compared to what it is at home. They have a ton of rules and regulations, and they just try to keep everything like they try to keep it like everybody has to follow all these guidelines so that doesn't get out of control and chaotic, basically.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it down here. That's like a big part of their job, but that's what the coaches do. So they're always out at tournaments watching, trying to find players, trying to find the best kids to come to their school.
So I'm curious then, I mean, obviously even pre-pandemic, there must be a camaraderie amongst your teammates, being that everyone is being scouted and pulled from all over North America, right? So you're all going long distances without knowing anybody. Have you found that there's like more so than, let's say, when you were at U of S, you know, when you were at the University of Saskatchewan? Have you found that there's a little bit of a tighter bond with this group of girls?
Yeah, I mean, you get that everywhere. And like, when I went to Saskatchewan, there were actually like quite a few girls that know each other because a lot of them are coming from, a lot of them come from Saskatchewan. So they all played like within
Right.
Regina. They're all pretty close. They know each other, like a lot of provincial team stuff. Same with, we had a big group of kids from Alberta when I was there. So a lot of them were from Calgary. They kind of all knew each other. But here, yeah, I guess you pull people from a lot of different areas. Like we're like right around Idaho is where the majority of our players come from. We do have one player from Texas, so she transferred in this year. And so, yeah, it's just, I mean, it's always the same thing. Like people, you just get there. And I mean, I didn't know who anybody was when I came in, but once again, just had like a really good group of girls, a really good group of seniors that kind of just took me in under their wing. And then now this is actually one of my favorite teams I've ever played with. We just have like just such a good group and just a really good mix of personalities. And I mean, we had 10 new players come in this year, so we had 8 freshmen and 2 transfers, but I mean, just getting them up to speed and getting them like building relationships with them and all that has been really good this fall. And that's, I mean, something that we've actually had more of an opportunity to do with the pandemic. I mean, sometimes because early we weren't really sure like how much softball we were going to get to play and all of that.
Yeah.
So we put a lot of emphasis on building relationships and trying to spend time with one another off the field.
So for team building and stuff like that, what is some of the things that you guys your team was all doing together?
Yeah, I mean, we would just plan things like on the weekend, and somebody'd have everybody over to their house. We had like a big barbecue. We had like a movie night. We did like some games nights, stuff like that. Our coaches also helped plan some things. Like we had a big cornhole tournament, and like just for Halloween, we have like a Halloween practice. So we got split into 2 teams. Everybody dressed up, and we played dodgeball actually. So that was really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we just kind of do a whole bunch of things where we just make sure that we get the whole team involved and get everybody there, just so we have those opportunities to create relationships, because that's something that's huge. And that's one of our core values here on our softball team is connect. So we've really put a lot of emphasis on that in the fall, because sometimes I think it's something that you don't get as much like direct work. Like people are just expected to kind of figure it out. But we found that like if you actually give people more opportunities to create those relationships and give them time with their teammates, then in the end, it just is a positive result for the team as a whole.
Well, I can imagine that you all have so many shared experiences just with being pulled from all over the place to go play there and then needing to kind of figure out how to get through the pandemic. And I know you kind of touched on it with the University of Saskatchewan. I'm sure playing college sports, no matter where you're playing them, there's a lot of similarities. But what I'm curious is, I mean, what is the major differences you noticed between U of S and Boise State?
I mean, college sports are absolutely huge down here in the US. Like there's a ton of emphasis. There's a lot of funding and resources that go into the programs down here. I mean, I was like super fortunate at U of S. I played at a great program in one of the better funded women's basketball programs in the entire country. So I was really
winning a championship.
Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't win. They won one, but
right.
Yeah. So it's it's definitely different. Like there's just so much more down here. Like we just have different, like the level of facilities that we have is just different, and the fans that we get like at our football games, like it's crazy. Like it's just not the same atmosphere. I guess there's just a lot more emphasis put on down here. Like people love college sports, and it's huge. Like you realize that the TV contracts that some of the schools have, and how often, like when you look at the stadiums, like obviously not right now because of the pandemic, but like when Clemson is going to play somebody, like that football stadium is absolutely full, and then there's so many people watching that game on TV. Like it's crazy. And I mean, when we look at the resources, like I touched on the facilities a little bit, like just the level of facility that we have, like a lot of the gear that we get, like it's just, and the equipment and all of that stuff, it's just, honestly, it's just kind of a step up. And funding is a big part of that. Like we have a ton of academic resources here for us as athletes. We have academic advisors, we have tutors, we have a whole student center where it's just athletes, and like they're there to help us. We have programs in our school. It's called Bronco Life, that's helping you make connections with professionals, so that in the future, when you're done playing your sport at Boise State, you have connections in the community to help you get a job. And we have a whole athletic training team, so each team has their own trainer. And then like we have a sports med, like an athletic training room, and we have our equipment guys. So it's just, we have our compliance team. So there's just like a lot that goes into it down here. And yeah, there's a lot of differences. I mean, both are good. Like I hope to see the programs in Canada start to just build and get bigger, and hopefully we can find a way to put some more emphasis in it and get some more funding there, because that really is a big part of it. And I mean, another part of it down here is a full ride scholarship. In the US is like you get your school paid for, and you get like room and board. So you get tuition, you get your books, all that kind of stuff, where versus at home, like you can only get your tuition paid for, and that's like your max scholarship. So that's also a big difference.
So it does kind of allow you to be down there and not need to worry about working a job or doing that other thing, right? You're almost fully looked after.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, different sports are different. So like for basketball, like they have 12 full ride scholarships, and they basically have about 12 players. For us, like we're a little bit different. I think we also have 12, but we're 23 players. So we're like
Right.
split up a little bit differently. And I mean, football is kind of like the same way. Football has a lot of guys that are like walk-ons or they're full rides, but yeah, still, I mean, the amount of like athletic funding we can get mixed in with some academic funding. If your grades are good enough, it's like, yeah, they just really take care of you down here.
Are you enjoying the academic side of it as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been good. I had to switch. I switched majors when I came, just because of when I transferred with credits and being able to play. And then with my extra year, I've actually found out I'm going to be able to double major. So I'll be able to get. I'm in sociology right now, so I'll finish that degree this semester, and then I'll actually be able to finish up my kin degree, which is what I was doing at Sask too. So I'll graduate with a double major.
That's great. So
Mhm.
are you like right now your fall schedule and training is kind of wrapped up?
Yeah.
And are you heading back to Red Deer over the holidays?
Yeah, I actually I leave on Saturday, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna go back. And yeah, so our training is like, it's definitely gonna be different. I mean, we always get to go home at Christmas for our breakdown here is a little bit longer. They tend to start school like a little bit later after Christmas. So I think last year I was home for just under a month maybe, and then this year it's gonna be about 7 weeks. So it's
Right.
definitely gonna be a long time. But like our strength and conditioning coach, he sent out our entire program. He sent us home with like little packages. He's got it all set up for us already. So like we're good that way. We know we have ways to stay in shape. We've already, like, we got set up before, so people were going to figure out like where they were going to work out, where they're going to be able to hit and get their softball work in. So now it's kind of up to us as a group, and we've kind of come up with a way to hold everybody accountable over the break, just because like we know as a group, and for what we want to do, like to work towards our goals, like we have to stay in shape, and you have to get your reps in, and you have to
Right.
put your work in. When you're gone, like we can't come back in January and not have done very much. So we know that as players, but yeah, we're
You
also
can't
just
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. it, eh? Just show up and everyone's like, what happened?
exactly. So, and I mean, and we're just trying to be there for each other, help hold each other accountable, and help motivate people, because it's a lot different when you have to go home and work out by yourself every day and you're not with 23 of your teammates. So that's going to be a big part over this break too, is just finding ways to stay connected with everybody and make sure that we're able to keep working towards our goals so that we're ready to go in February when games start.
Is the schedule already released for your 2021 season?
Yeah, it's partially released, so like we know where we're playing our preseason. We don't have all of our opponents for preseason, but we know where we're going, and then our conference schedule is set up.
So it's kind of being thrown together as more information's coming along, type of thing, I'm guessing, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So they're just kind of, I mean, we have like everything is planned to go ahead as is right now, and we're just hoping that that's what happens in February. So the basketball season is supposed to start here right away. They start November 25th. Is the first day for the NCAA. So excited to see what happens there. Excited for those athletes to get an opportunity to get back on the court too, because it's been long for them. I mean, they got to play most of their season last year, but they missed out on an NCAA tournament. So that's really big for a lot of them. So yeah, really excited for them to get back out on the floor and get a chance to play again. And then yeah, hopefully all goes well for them so we can start playing in February.
That's great. It's funny just talking to you. I'm getting like the feeling that the sports side of things at Boise State, it doesn't break down into each categorical sport, right? Like I feel like there's a lot of support from everyone for all of the sports going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have such a great athletics program here, and I mean, we all feed off of one another. So I mean, our football is huge here, and but obviously right now it's a little bit different. But yeah, like last year, like we went to all the football games, like the majority of my teammates, and we go to the basketball games, and we basketball, men's basketball, we go watch volleyball. It's kind of hard to go watch some of the other sports that are in season when we are, but yeah, it's really cool just to be able to go and support them. And I mean, like we share a weight room with everybody except for football, so you see everybody in there working every day just like you are, and you go walk by them on your way to practice. And we're in Preco, which is our academic center for student athletes, and you just see everybody in there. So yeah, it's just a really great community that we have at Boise.
Oh, that's so cool. I know one thing about college sports is that, especially in the U.S., there are rivalries that are on par with some of the most heated rivalries in professional sports. Is there any rivals for your softball team that like you look at the schedule and they're like circling the date and they're like, yeah, here they come?
Well, I haven't actually got to play in our conference yet, so I don't have I haven't really any of those rivalries, but I've heard we do have quite a few in conference. I think Fresno's supposed to be one of the big ones. We're supposed to play them first, so they're always somebody. But yeah, I don't know exactly who all our rivalries are, but I know we have a few in our conference. We have more than one, so I'm excited to get to experience it and be in that atmosphere this year.
So I know you're not starting your season with home games. How does the travel side of things work? Are you on a bus? Are you flying? What's the protocol there?
We fly to most places. We do occasionally bus depending on where it is, but early in the year, so like our first tournament, we always go to Sac State and UC Davis in California. So we'll fly there. This year we get to go to Louisiana. We get to go to Lake Charles, so McNeese State and North Dakota State. So we'll fly there obviously too. And then we're going to San Diego, California, so fly there. And then we'll go to Utah. So I'm not sure if we'll fly to Utah. There's like a couple places that we bus to. I know last year we were supposed to have 2 bus trips in season, so in conference. So yeah, it just kind of depends like how far away it is and all of that. We do fly to most places though, but we get that occasional bus trip.
It must be interesting to see the diversity that is within the United States. Like just the fact you're going to San Diego and then Louisiana and Utah, like is there any place that you've been that kind of stood out that you were just like, wow, this is not what I was expecting?
I mean, it's different. One of the places is Tucson, which is where the University of Arizona is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Tucson. Yeah, and then Tempe is ASU. It's like, that is like totally, like the university is like all of that town, pretty much. You like hear about this big university, like the University of Arizona, and you're like, man, and they have such nice facilities. Their softball facility was just redone or updated a couple years ago, so we're really lucky to get to play there. They have a big grandstand. They have a huge like locker room, and they have an indoor facility. And so it's really, really cool to be there. And you go see and you walk through this like amazing campus. And then outside of it, there's like not a whole lot.
No, that's interesting. It's funny because I know you don't see that in Canada, where there's almost a city that exists just because of the university that's there. I know I was on my way to Milwaukee when I was in Toronto. I was driving and we went through Ann Arbor, Michigan, and that's a town that's like literally you're just like, how this wouldn't exist if there wasn't post-secondary here. Like the only reason that this place is hustling is because of it. So that's really cool. Tucson, eh?
Yeah, one of my teammates is my old teammates is actually going to law school at Penn State, and she said the same thing. Like they're basically out in the middle of nowhere, and Penn State's like a big school. Like you hear about all like their volleyball program there is incredible, and like you hear about a lot of stuff there, and then you go there and you realize, yeah, it's basically just the university.
Yeah, that's very cool. We'll talk Major League Baseball here for just a second, because I know pretty much the most historical thing in baseball history, besides maybe the color barrier, happened just last week with Kim Ng being hired as the general manager for the Miami Marlins. Was this something that like kind of hit home with you? Was this exciting to you? Was this exciting to your teammates? Is there a buzz at all about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting. With national team, we're actually going to have a chat on Sunday night about it and just kind of like everybody's reaction to it and what's going on in the sports world. But it's huge, especially for women in all sports now. Like, yes, it's baseball, but you look around and you see women breaking these barriers, and it's still something where like a lot of people question. They're like, oh, is she qualified? Is she able to do this? Like, will she be able to run a team? And you look at her resume, and she is more than like, she is definitely qualified. And you look at how long it took her to get there and what she had to do versus some other GMs that just like got there right away. So it's really interesting that people like that. We find that people always ask those questions, like when women are hired in those spaces and for those positions, it's like a question of their ability, and they really will look in to be like, well, is she actually that qualified? Where if it was a male that was hired, they'd be like, all right, like, yeah, they picked him, he's supposed to be there. So it's definitely huge for us just having role models in those positions, because before, like, there's gonna be a lot of young girls and say that's what you want to do, but there's nobody in that position. It's really hard to envision yourself there. But now that we do have a female in that role, you can look up and be like, all right, like I can do this, I can get there. Like it's gonna be a long road, it might be a difficult path, and you're gonna have to do a lot, but yeah, you can get there.
It can be done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's really cool. So the senior women's administrators in the Mountain West Conference put on like a little Zoom series with various like we had some academic people come in there, like some of our academic advisors for schools. We had athletic directors, just anybody who was in like a position of power, I guess, or like a higher position in our schools. And they ran this conference for student athletes in the Mountain West, and it was basically for future leaders in college sports. And so I was lucky enough that I got to attend that. And just the other day, we were listening to one of the athletic directors from San Jose State, who was actually a female, and it was same thing. Like she just kind of talked about how now she goes into a room, and I mean, being a female athletic director, she's definitely a minority. So, I mean, she's always fighting to basically prove that she's able to be there, and people absolutely love her. She's great at San Jose State. She's so good at what she does. She's such an infectious personality. Like it was so cool to get to listen to her speak, but just knowing that it also took her a while to get there. And she never even initially, she said when she got started in college sports, she never thought of being an athletic director, but it just like the opportunity presented itself and she worked her way there. So it's cool to now see women breaking those barriers and like pushing these restrictions and limits that everybody else has put on them to be in some of those powerful positions in sports.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's absolutely insane that it took so long for front offices to kind of be like, oh, 50% of the entire population, they do have the brains to do this here. You know, like even with Kim Ng, and that was one thing, and you kind of touched on it, is that whenever a female gets put in a position like this that maybe they haven't been in before, it's constantly questioned, are they qualified? Should they be there? And it was kind of cool with Kim Ng to kind of see that for the most part, the rhetoric was, holy crap, about time. Like, exactly. You know, like she was the youngest assistant general manager in 1998. Like, think about the perseverance to have like got to that position. And then 22 years later, you finally get the bump to GM. Like, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And I mean, that's the part, like people are going to be frustrated and you're going to like, and she basically just stuck it out and she just kept going. And eventually she got her opportunity, which is really cool. But yeah, you read the stories and like, she was turned down by a lot of other teams before she finally got her opportunity. So it's really, really cool to see that all the years and all the time and the work that she's put in is like finally paying off, and she's finally getting her opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. Kelsey, thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, really appreciate you coming back on the show, and all the best to you in your upcoming season here. Hopefully we can touch base with you maybe in the spring and see how things are going.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you guys for having me. I love coming to talk to you. It's so much fun always. So
Awesome. Right on.